We've now heard about your 3 novels, Stella. 2 are historical fiction and 1 deals with our current events. What are you working on now?
I've gone rogue, Beck. Is the only way to describe it. I'm working on a manuscript of speculative fiction, and now you're probably going to ask why speculative fiction after all the historical fiction that I've done. And I don't know. It could be our times, although this was started before our times of the pandemic, et cetera. I'm just interested in, where are we going, I guess, in the world and as individuals. And I also am fascinated by walls. God knows why. Why people build walls, like actual walls, and what it says about the walls we build within ourselves. And so I'm exploring that, and it probably also comes back to belonging and fitting in and that sort of thing, although it is a work of speculative fiction, so future thinking, and we'll see where it goes.
Excellent. And how far along are you?
Yikes. Not very far, I don't think. I mean, it's I don't have a sense of it because I'm also outlining and creating a world as I go along. And so it's a different process. There aren't those parameters when you're building a world. And so I don't necessarily have a sense of where I am. Scary. Very
Yeah, it is. So what are some of the specific speed bumps you're encountering?
Just, where sort of some of the where this technology is going to be, where the world is going to be, how we're going to deal with some of the issues now that are, happening now in the future. Will they be issues? And how will they show themselves, I guess, and what will be at a person's beck and call to either help or hinder, life in that time. It starts in, I think, 2056 is the year that the manuscript starts in at the moment.
Great. Could you read a bit of what you have so far?
Yes. So this is the prologue, which happens in 2040. And the chapter is entitled Birth. The admiration of many hands and gentle cooing penetrate these walls. She lays curled into herself. She wiggles and tugs and tries to turn. This place is boggy warm, yes, even comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. She needs more space to use her voice, exercise her limbs, and reach. But reach for what? She's not sure. Still, the urge persists. When she spreads her arms to trace the outline of what might be, or kicks her leg to find the outer limits of this cage, she receives a rub or a pat and more whispered reassurances. Even through these thick layers, she hears and for some reason recognizes the calming voice, as if it were her own. Yet she's never been allowed to speak. Everything is fine, little one. You will arrive soon into a different place. No more useless battles, no more needless death. We have peace. You will have your whole life ahead of you. You will live without strife. You'll see. Life is better with the rules we have. The regeneration has made all of this, all that was once wrong, right again. Despite these words, she is not soothed. She earns release. This time she will get her way. She hears the gasps of pain. That voice she has come to know is no longer serene. She punches at the liquid surrounding her. It bubbles and gurgles, yet shrouds and fixes her in place. She begins to choke. She holds her breath and kicks hard and finds it. A narrow passageway. Finally. She wants to jump in feet first, but something tells her to turn around. Look at what is being left behind. Security. Yet a prison by any other name. This is her chance. She has fought hard. A new world awaits. And there, if the voice she's heard all these months is true to its word, she won't have to struggle for what she's always wanted, freedom.
Thank you, Stella.
Thank you, Beck. Thank you.
As this is the last in our 4-part series, what would you like to say about your own journey as a writer? And do you have any suggestions for emerging writers?
Yes. I think, we've talked a lot about the different things that, different themes of my work, and why I do what I do and what I think about, and what motivates me. But really, I think my journey as a writer and in life period can be captured in this particular saying by Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. And so I think at at my core, I need to make a difference. And so that, I think, captures for me my journey. And as I said before, in the other 3 parts, writing allows me to just look into the lives of a few in the hopes to help me understand the plight of the many, and hopefully give some shed a light for others as well, to see something that they might not have seen or thought of or experienced before. So I think that captures, for the most part, my journey as a writer. Now, in terms of for other writers, for emerging writers, for me, I think people who are interested, like all artists, no matter what art that you're involved in, you have to find your way, your practice, what you do, what works best for you. What does that entail? One, understanding who you are as a human being and as a person. When do you work best? I'm a morning person, so I work best in the morning when it's dark out and I can actually be quiet in my in myself, so that I can listen and hear and think about my characters and their stories. Practice. It helps to, even as I tell my students, 5 to 10 minutes a day adds to your momentum. If you have 10 words today, there are 10 words you didn't have yesterday. You didn't have yesterday. And so even if you only have 5 minutes, and I'm really bad at this, because when I think about, I've got a meeting, at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever it is, I say to myself, oh, I have a meeting, I can't do this today. Well, what am I doing at 4:30 in the morning? If I'm a morning person, what am I going to do from 4:30 to 10 o'clock when my meeting is? It's just my way to procrastinate. So, if there's been a trick to procrastination, I have found it.
Right.
So give yourself some time, even 5 or 10 minutes a day. And when you start, even, when you're not used to it, put a timer on, which has helped me incredibly, because it allows me to let go of, the time issue, which seems to be a thing for me. Read all kinds of things, read poetry, sci-fi, a variety of things, because the more you read, the better you see the kinds of writing and styles that you like. Join or start a critique group, because again, for me, I don't think I would have published 3 books if it hadn't been for my critique group looking at my work and telling me what was working and what wasn't working, and giving me guidance. So having that that cohort, that group of people that is as intimately involved in your work as you are, goes a long way. Don't give up. Make a plan and stick to it, even 3 or 4 days a week. It will carry you. And for me, also, the most important thing is the only way is to go forward. And you do that by putting one foot in front of the other, or your hands on the keyboard, or a pen in hand at your notebook, right? So.
Excellent. Well, can I ask you, what are you reading right now?
Oh, well, I am reading The Storm
Mm.
by Arif Anwar, and it's about a storm in the Bay of Bengal. It's just beautiful. Also, lots of characters, beautiful, beautiful writing, and yes, lots of characters, lots of going back and forth in time, which is something that appeals to me. But just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous story. So I'd highly recommended The Storm.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Is there a book about writing that you would recommend?
Yes, I finished one just recently, and I'll show you all the notes that I made. And what I really, really like about it is that it's not so much a how-to book as it is a book about the craft of writing. And it's George Saunders' A Swim in a Pond in the Rain. It is outlines has several short stories by Russian authors and what they teach us about writing. But the one thing that I talk about a lot is how painful writing is. And he does that too. So we're in the same boat. But the other thing that he says is every good writer knows that writing means rewriting, that you don't write the perfect first sentence or paragraph or whatever. And so it's those kinds of things that he goes into, that it just really is a wonderful book about craft. Without necessarily being a how-to, because my feeling is that, and while I have read many how-tos, I really think that a story comes from within. And while you could have guidelines, it's still the story comes from within and ends up on the page. And then in rewriting, you start to figure out where's the plot, who the characters are, what are you trying to say, what are your themes. And even when you figure it out, you'll go to a book club and someone will say, gee, I saw this in your book. And you go, oh, really? I didn't intend that. But so.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the insight you've given into your books and your writing process, Stella. You've been so generous, and I'm sure readers and writers alike will find it very illuminating.
Thanks, Rebecca.
You're most welcome. And for more information or to connect with Stella about her books for school programs, book clubs, or writers interested in talking about the writing process, go to Stella's website at stellaharvey.com or on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube.